Once again, taking our viewers, Nalini and Tapas, through the details of what has now been said in court, essentially with the Solicitor General underscoring the fact that the ED wasn't given a chance to speak in the Calcutta High Court, with the Supreme Court, Nalini, stepping in and asking that, did the Calcutta High Court then turn into Jantar Mantar? Yes was the answer to that question. A big statement there from the ED, from the Solicitor General. Massive theft by Chief Minister Mamata charge that has now been made by the Enforcement Directorate. Theft of evidence. This is a big statement that has been made by the investigating agency, Nalini, in court today.
Yes, Neha, big statement coming in that the chaos that had occurred in the Calcutta High Court, because of which the hearing had been postponed for the first day when it was scheduled to come up, was something that was manufactured by the legal cell of the TMC. That's a big allegation, considering that we're talking about a constitutional court, and the Solicitor General is stating that the legal cell of the TMC had specifically messaged people to come in large numbers, gather in the court and create a ruckus so that a hearing cannot happen. That's a big statement coming in. And just to get you the latest update of what's happening inside the court, remember, it's a bench headed by Justice P.K. Mishra who's hearing the case, and they are essentially asking the details of the case that was being investigated in West Bengal. So the Solicitor General is giving details of the coal block scam, how they had gone to West Bengal to investigate the proceeds of crime, to likely seize the proceeds of crime that were likely at the residence of Pratik Jain, as well as the IPAC offices. Remember, these are all allegations. So allegedly the proceeds of crime that were there at the residence of Pratik Jain or the IPAC offices. And he's also talking about how the entire investigation was being carried out by the ED after having given advance notice to the state police that they are going to be carrying out these raids. So it was not something spontaneous that was done. Proper procedure was followed by the ED, where the state police was taken into the loop. They were informed that these raids are going to be carried out, and it is probably due to this advance notice that the state police and Mamata Banerjee had actually reached there in time for the raids and actually taken into their possession sensitive documents related to the case that the ED was looking into. A very important statement, Sneha, that needs to be stated here, something that had even come up before the Calcutta High Court.
Right.
The ED had specifically told the Calcutta High Court, and it had even been taken on record, that nothing was seized by the ED themselves during the raid. The TMC had also asked for this to be taken into record, which essentially looks like it's going to be a point of contention before the Supreme Court as to whether or not ED had seized something themselves while conducting the raid. But we've not come to that point yet. They're still talking about the coal scam case, where the Supreme Court, where the Enforcement Directorate is telling the Supreme Court what were they essentially hiding in the IPAC offices and Pratik Jain residence that Mamata Banerjee personally had to barge in. And the Solicitor General also goes on to say, I don't know what they were hiding, that such drastic step had to be taken by the CM to barge in with the state police and stop the investigation being taken off by the ED.
That's right. It's a big statement that has been made by the Enforcement Directorate. Also something that has been said politically by the Bharatiya Janata Party in the past, that what has she got to hide for her to protect in that sense Pratik Jain in this fashion. Be with us. For our viewers who would have just joined us, we're just telling our viewers a little about what's happening as we speak. This is a matter which has now been discussed, debated in the Supreme Court of India. It's a battle between IPAC and Trinamool Congress, West Bengal Police on one hand, and the Enforcement Directorate on the other hand. Of course, politically, it has got far-reaching implications for the elections in the state of West Bengal. It's got to do with the investigations of IPAC, an organization that has been retained by the Trinamool Congress in these elections, of course, to strategize for the upcoming West Bengal elections. Raids were being done by the Enforcement Directorate in the past in a case which is actually dated back to the year 2020, after which raids were carried out once again just a few days ago. Political interference on the part of the Trinamool Congress, the Chief Minister's own involvement in this entire matter is what is now being questioned in the Supreme Court by the Solicitor General and the Enforcement Directorate. Remember, this matter first reached Calcutta High Court, but the ED has argued, viewers, that they didn't get a fair hearing, plus the mic was muted. And the other set of arguments that are being made at this point in time, even as we speak, to summarize for our viewers, is that why was the Chief Minister, the TMC Supremo, so direct directly involved in this entire case? Has she got something to hide? Of course, the argument, tapas, on the part of the TMC is that we question the timing of this. It's involving IPAC, but because IPAC, tapas, is associated with the Trinamool Congress right now, hence the timing is suspect. This is to settle political scores, but they've got fair amount of answering to do when it comes to this charge. Why did Mamata Banerjee interfere personally? What has she got to hide, isn't it? Plus, the conduct of the West Bengal police that is being questioned. Tapas.
Well, yes, absolutely. The narrative is very clear that that the ED have made it very clear that they are questioning the presence of Chief Minister, that why it was required for the Chief Minister to be present in person, and what did he take along with her? Why was it so? What was she so important that she took along with her? Is something that the Enforcement Directorate wanted to know. Yesterday at Calcutta High Court, the Enforcement Directorate had already put on record that they have not seized anything, and whatever lies with the Chief Minister was being introspected by the Enforcement Directorate officials, but that those documents were taken away and the gadgets were taken away by Mamata Banerjee. And it is also important to note that the police was also beforehand informed by the Enforcement Directorate regarding this raid, but the Enforcement Directorate yesterday at Calcutta High Court even raised the question that the raid was conducted on Pratik Jain's residence, at Pratik Jain's office. That's the IPAC, it's a different entity, and Mamata Banerjee, the Chief Minister of West Bengal, was nowhere related, since the raid was not related to any political case whatsoever. It was pertaining to a hawala transaction that was tracked back to IPAC, and following that this raid was conducted, is what the ED had even raised yesterday. And also acting on the information that the way the Kolkata police and the West Bengal police had was present during the raids in both the places, be it Loudon Street or be it Salt Lake, raises question that why one organization, and Enforcement Directorate, as Tushar Mehta categorically stated, that ED is just not an organization. It has a laid down charter, and under
I want
the
to come
section
back to you, Tapas, and to Indrajit Kundu also, my colleague joining in. But a quick update there from Nalini, who's standing by in Supreme Court to tell our viewers, and my colleague Srishti is getting us all of those updates as well from inside the court where the hearing is taking place here. Kapil, Sibal trying to make an argument as well with the court's observations that this, of course, is a serious matter. We have to examine this on all of those that has been said by the ED vis-a-vis, theft of evidence and the kind of interference that was seen by the political leadership in the state. Nalini.
Sneha, some very important developments coming in. Like you pointed out, the Supreme Court has already said that this is a very serious matter, and this is not only something that we will examine, but this is something that we want to examine. So there's a big statement coming in from the Supreme Court. In fact, the Supreme Court was on the verge of issuing notice to the TMC and to the West Bengal government, asking them to reply to this ED's plea, which would have essentially meant that the Supreme Court is agreeing to look into the fact as to whether or not there should be a CBI probe into what had happened in the state of West Bengal on the 8th of Jan when these raids were conducted. But Kapil Sibal, who is appearing for Mamata Banerjee, had interrupted the court and said, please hear us before issuing notice. And Kapil Sibal himself has made a big statement. He said that the court today needs to decide whether or not the Calcutta High Court is capable of delivering justice in this case. Because if that is the case, then you should allow the Calcutta High Court to hear it, and the Supreme Court should not take up this matter. In fact, Kapil Sibal went on to say that this court will have to say, if you're issuing notice, which means that the Supreme Court is taking over the matter, this court will have to say that it feels that the High Court cannot deliver justice, to which the Supreme Court judges have taken slight offense, where they've told Kapil Sibal, don't try to put words in our mouth, you argue only your case. Kapil Sibal's going on to argue that they're very perturbed with the kind of allegations and the statements that are made by the Solicitor General. The Supreme Court has remarked at the same time that they're very disturbed with what happened before the Calcutta High Court, specifically talking about the chaos that had ensued, because of which a hearing had to be postponed. Now, although a hearing getting adjourned may not be that big of a deal, but at the same time, it needs to be remembered that before a constitutional court, nobody should be allowed to gather people in the form of a protest, and nobody should be allowed to manufacture chaos, which is the argument that was made by the ED first. To which the Supreme Court has said that they're very disturbed with what has happened in the Calcutta High Court, and Kapil Sibal is insisting that the West Bengal government be heard before the Supreme Court takes a decision as to whether or not this entire case should be admitted. Senior Advocate Abhishek Manu Singhvi is also appearing for the TMC and the West Bengal government, where he is saying that yesterday before the High Court, the ED sought time. Since they had moved the High Court had granted them time, and yesterday during the hearing there was no ruckus. It was only something that had happened the first time around. Simply to explain to our viewers in a simple way what is happening, Sneha, it seems that the ED is keen on having the hearing before the Supreme Court, which was even evident from the kind of arguments that they were making before the High Court yesterday, asking for the matter to be adjourned. Whereas, on the other hand, Mamata Banerjee and TMC believe that they have a better shot at convincing the judges in the High Court to rule in their favor, which is why they want the matter to be heard by the High Court themselves, and they don't want the Supreme Court to take up the matter, which might also, Sneha, be the reason why TMC and the West Bengal government have not approached the Supreme Court in this case at all, something that was stated by their lawyer very objectively before the High Court yesterday.